The African hostage has been released after he was held in Libya and Mali for over 6 years. 47-year-old Gerco van Deventer was captured in 2017 while on his way to a power plant construction site south of Tripoli. Captor of the givers say he was later sold to Al-Qaeda in Mali. The organization has been involved in efforts to secure his release since 2018. Van Deventer was released in Algeria last night, where he's undergoing a medical checkup. Captor of the Givers founder Imtiaz Sooliman joins us for more. Mr. Sooliman, I appreciate your time as always. Can you share more details about the challenges and complexities involved in this negotiation process over the last 6 years?
Good afternoon, Hugo. The biggest challenge is when you don't have money. If you have ransom, you can take a hostage out in 7 days. When you don't have money, it's a very, very long process. We got involved in 2018 at the request of the family. And immediately the first step, of course, we've had dealings with the Al-Qaeda before through intermediaries for various other cases. Stephen McGowan, John Gustafson, Christoph Botma, and many other cases that we help people make connection with intermediaries to make contact with Al-Qaeda. So we have, some kind of understanding of how they operate. So in 2018, when we got involved, the first issue we had to sort out was ransom. They wanted $3 million. Over a period of time, we brought it down to $500,000. But of course, the family couldn't afford that. There was no benefactor. The company that he worked for, he had just started working for them, so they were not going to come forward with that kind of money. And gift of the givers, we don't pay ransom. We are only facilitators for families to try to assist them get their loved ones back. So when there was no leverage and no money, after a few months, the negotiations just died. And then came COVID, which killed everything for another 2 years. January this year, one of the intermediaries, one of several that we know, called us and said, why don't you guys start again? And they said, start again with what? There is no money. So they said, just start again. And then soon after that, it was the month of Ramadan, and we tried to use that as leverage. To say it's a month of fasting, hearts are softened, please can you consider, this man has been away from home so many years, his wife needs him, his child needs him. And a lot of people put up a sort of a placard demonstration outside the mosque during the fasting period. Christians, Muslims all got together. The religious leaders gave us letters of support at that time. Nothing happened. Then came Hajj and the pilgrimage. We tried again. Nothing happened. And then when the earthquake came in Morocco, we offered assistance to the Moroccan government. But they politely refused and said they find they don't need help. But that message got to the captors. And through the intermediaries, they sent a message to say they appreciate the offer because they are linked to people in Morocco. So we tried to use that as an opportunity to leverage and say, then why don't you release STATCO to us? Nothing happened. On the 16th of November, something strange happened. The chief intermediary that we know since 2015 suddenly called late in the afternoon on the November 16th. And he said, I need all the videos again. The videos that you've made of the mother and the son, those that you released in public and those that you haven't released in public, I need them. Now what was strange, that morning, November 16th, the head of my office in Gaza, Ahmed Abbasi, was directly targeted by the Israeli occupation forces and murdered. And so was his brother, Dr. Muhammad. And we're not sure if that had any relevance because it was on that day that they called us and we did anything the day after. On the 1st of December, we got a call from somebody completely new from another country, Mauritania. We don't know this person, never spoke to him, don't know anything about him since our efforts started with other hostages in 2015. He just spoke and he said, we are working on releasing Gerco van Deventer. We never heard from him again. Last night, I get a call from our state security to say that the Algerian state security has called them to say that they have Gerco with them and they're flying him to Algiers to one of the hospitals for a medical checkup. We were not sure about this. We then made contact with the key person involved in this, and the guy said, yes, I was supposed to call you, but I've been delayed. I'm in charge in this process. He has been released. And then he went on further to explain. He said we could not do the release to Mali, which we normally do, because the Mali military and the Tuaregs are at war, so that's not an option. Secondly, he got a call from Mauritania because we tried to get him released through the Mauritania state security, but they refused. They did not want to get involved in a hostage situation. We then approached the Algerians, and they agreed because we have done other such releases to the Algerian government, And he said, yes, he is released to the Algerian government, and he has been set free, and it's unconditional.
Geez, that's quite a process, Dr. Sooliman. And the conversation that I often have with you is around the mental health. I mean, recently we talked about the mental health of some of your staff who lost their loved ones very, very sadly in Gaza. What do we know about the mental health of Gerco and certainly his family? What state is he in at the moment, health-wise as well?
Well, every video they made up to the recent one, he looked in very good health from a physical point of view. From an emotional point of view, he said, I want back what they took away from me, my freedom. That message was repeated in 2 or 3 videos. But if you look at him, he looks fairly fine. And we know from hostages being kept by Al-Qaeda, they're generally kept in a very good position. Of course, we had the experience for Johan Gustafsson, Stephen McGowan, Yolandi Poki, but she was held in Yemen, not in Mali. And some other hostages, generally, Oliver Dubois, who came out of the French generals, generally, they kept in good condition, and they said they are well treated and well looked after. Because they are a commodity. This is a business. They've got to take care of the product. And of course, his biggest worry was the state of his wife, the state of his child. Also, in this case, something very strange happened. They allowed him to call his wife. In all my experience with journalists about the hostages, I've never heard of any occasion where a hostage is allowed to phone his family. This is the first time I've heard of that. There may be other cases, but I'm not aware of it at all. And he was permitted to call his wife not on one, but on several occasions. So maybe that was some kind of solace for him. I'm sure from a physical point of view, he will be fine. And of course, the rest comes when he's home and the support he gets from his wife and his child. But on the other side, the wife has been absolutely admirable. She's been strong, full of faith, full of hope, being a pillar of support to her son. The son has been sad for 6 years. Every time he goes to the sports field, every other child has his father with him. And Asher, the son, doesn't have his father with him. And the mother has been an incredible pillar of strength for the son. And I'm sure she'll get incredible support for Gerco when he's back with her, hopefully very soon.
You're getting very, very emotional there, Dr. Sooliman. I mean, when you talk about the impact that it's had on his son, and obviously it's got to be incredibly difficult. I mean, it's difficult just hearing the story as it unfolds. Do we know when Gerco will be on the shores of South Africa, when he'll be reunited with his family?
It shouldn't take too long, depending on his medical condition, which I think should be fine. Then the process normally is this. The country you go through, sometimes your state security asks you a couple of questions, and then your country fetches you. Depends when they get a flight and when they get to actually fetch him, because somebody has to fly up to fetch him. So you need somebody to go up to fetch him, maybe, and then give him a day or two to recover, bring him down, and sometimes they take you to the head office of state security for the debriefing session. Thereafter, they connect you to the family. So it could take 2 to 3 days, probably not much longer than that.
Dr. Sooliman, what are the lessons that we learn from this particular case that could be applied to enhance future efforts in facilitating the release of hostages?
No, there's no lessons to learn. The only lesson to learn is don't go to countries where people are taken hostage. Make sure you're careful. Of course, in Libya, you didn't expect that. He went to work for a company. But to countries that are known for hostage taking, please stay away. You'll be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And it's a very difficult process, especially if you don't have money. It takes a very long time. And even when you have money, for the 4 to 5 or 6 months, you don't hear anything. You don't know where the hostage is, who's taken him, where he's been, how his condition is. And afterwards, the negotiations start. And the figures are very high. And you've got to negotiate to bring those figures down. A year or two can pass. But when the figures are approved and they agree to that, in 7 days, they will release you can pay. But how many people got that kind of money to pay? In most cases, you need the governments to pay for you, or you come from a rich company, like what happened in Libya. The company that he works for, the directors were also taken hostage with him. But the company paid for the directors, and they didn't pay for Gerco, because he was a new employee, and they were not going to spend that kind of money on a new employee who had just started for them. But the most important thing is that whenever you travel, make sure the country is not the type of country where hostages are taken.
This obviously is your personal opinion, this next question. What sort of state of mind would Gerco be in, when he thinks about the company and the fact that whilst he was a few months old, they basically left him to the mercy of these kidnappers?
Well, that's a very difficult question to answer. I don't know, because he's probably hadn't formed a bond with that company yet. It's not like he's been working with them for 10 years or so. He had just started. So and of course he wouldn't know that the other two were released, because they were all taken, unless they were kept together. I don't know. So if they were kept together and he saw the other two released, he would have felt left out and deserted kind of issue. But it's very hard to say. I don't know the circumstances, where he was held, who was held, was he alone, was he with the other people, what went through his mind. That's impossible for me to answer. That you can ask him when he comes back.
I guess we're going to have to do that. Dr. Sooliman, as always, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. Gift of the Givers founder Imtiaz Sooliman talking us through that release of Gerco van Deventer.